The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Monday. It's an overreaction Monday. It's a big-time reaction Monday with Atlanta losing to Orlando on Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium 3-1. React to the weekend in MLS. There were some other surprising results around the league as well. You can react to hashtag Messygate and what you think is going to happen there as things get more and more ridiculous in Spain. We're going to have a lot of Messygate conversation and all kinds of other European and South American football talk tonight. Soccer over there, 7 o'clock. We'll get deeper into all of that than we probably will this morning because I'm assuming there's a lot of reactions to Atlanta, Orlando, and a lot of U.S. soccer, MLS, USL, all of that kind of talk. We'll get into most of the European stuff later, but if you guys want to talk about it, that's what we're here for. So this weekend, first time Orlando's beat Atlanta ever, first off. Really disjointed, weird kind of match. The goals Atlanta gave up were bad goals to give up. It's frustrating at times, but I'd love to hear what you guys out there who watched thought of this because I've seen a variety of different reactions to it all over the map and love to get into that, where that conversation is. Let's just start there because that's the big topic of the day, John.
All right, on Twitter, let's start with Cairo. Cairo has a couple of questions, and the first one is, can anyone count Atlanta United was too often outnumbered?
No, I forgot to count. I don't know exactly what that's referencing. Too often outnumbered in what ways is going to be the question, because every team is trying to create numerical superiority in different parts of the field. Atlanta has a problem, not having that at times. They also create that at times. So I need a little more specifics on it. What phases of play? Because it didn't affect the goals, for example, that they gave up. The first goal off a set piece is poor defending. Just no way around it. It's just poor set piece defending. There's nothing else. The second goal is a number of different things. You were outnumbered in the defense, and one reason you were outnumbered is your right back was coming back onto the field after being injured, and no one dropped for him because Brooks Lennon can't teleport back to right back, and that unbalanced everything. That's an outnumbering issue, absolutely. The third goal, you're stretched. It's a bad ball from Walks. Pitti could have done better with it as well. It's a bad rescue mission from him. You give up the third goal as you're stretching the game. Attacking their defense, when you get those early goals, if you're Orlando, you get a goal off a set piece, you get the goal off of the mistake, game gets a lot simpler for you. You can leave numbers back. And, yeah, they're going to have numbers. That's why the first goal is so critical. And that's why giving up first half goals is such a problem, because it makes the job easier for the opposition. They can outnumber you defensively because what do they have to risk? Why do they have to send numbers forward? They have a 2-goal cushion. That's how it played out a little bit. But if there's specific instances, please, Cairo, let me know what you're talking about, because I'd like to dig into how those things break down at times, because they're going to happen in every match. I mean, it's just that's what both teams are working to do. You have better chance of success if you have numerical superiority in certain parts of the field. But how you create that in different ways is a big conversation.
Cairo followed it up by saying Goose cannot play the free kick to the shorthanded side. See above.
No. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's what I was looking for. So 100%. That whole sequence where the free kick was delivered, the fact that no one dropped. I mean, so many times, it's just common. You see it. Players get injured. They have to go off the field. They have to be waved back on. If it's a defender, you got to have somebody drop. And I don't know where the breakdown was. I don't know if it's somebody was told to drop and they did not. I don't know if there wasn't communication for somebody to drop. There wasn't organization from the back line. I don't know where the breakdown was, but it directly resulted in that. Because if you go and look, the free kick is given away. Orlando goes straight to where a right back would be. Miles Robinson is caught in an in-between, dealing with Mueller running at him with Daryl Dike off to the other side in the gap. Anton Walks is trying to deal with DK and Benji Michel to his outside. George Bello was up high, I think, looking for the free kick. He's having to scramble back. Total breakdown in the way the free kick was delivered, but also the structure of the team behind it. And you give up the second goal, which makes it a very difficult comeback attempt. You're down 2-0. It's really tough. The 2-0 scoreline is not the most dangerous in soccer. It makes a whole lot of things easier, and that's what it did for Orlando in this one.
Cairo's number 3 topic. Pitti shouldn't drop deep to find the ball. He is not effective in those positions.
Yeah, but he's got to in a game like this where he's not seeing the ball on the left side at all. The shift in the second half to Pitti centrally helped. You don't want him to drop deep consistently. I agree. But at times, even if it is just to keep that in the mind of the defense, you have to do it a little bit when you're just not seeing the ball. There's just no way around it. And at the very end, I mean, you're scrambling to try to find something. The giveaway that was, I'll put it 50-50 on Walks and Pitti. I've seen people put it 100% on either one. I don't know if that's necessarily fair. You're stretched and you're scrambled. That one's a little different. That's because of the goals you gave up earlier and the game state. But I agree in general, but at times when you're not seeing the ball, he's got to get some touches. It's just how it goes. Moving him centrally did help because he was able to do that without sacrificing a number forward, and I thought the halftime changes helped this team.
Point 4 from Cairo. Seen enough. John's worthless.
No, he's not worthless. That's unfair. He's not a fit for this team, though, in terms of a starter. He's just not. I thought he was better here than he was in the last match because I thought he was actually more involved. The thing is, he's just disconnected from the rest of the team. He plays a different style of game. He's making runs. His movement is not what the team is looking for. And you've had time to train. You've had time to get to know one another. You've had time to build that connection. It's not there. So he's not going to work as a starter. However, just because that's the case doesn't mean that Kubo Torres is fit because you say so. That's been the challenge. John is not starting ahead of Kubo Torres right now because he is seen as the better option. John is starting because he's the fittest option. That's the reality. And I think that's something that's being lost in the shuffle with all of this. You look at what I think would be your best starting lineup. Say you stay in the same shape. You were missing Torres. You were missing potentially Dom, if you want to put him in at the right wing ahead of Lennon. You were missing Barco. You were missing Meza. 4 from your best starting 11 in this shape. And you can argue about Dom and Lennon if you want to, and that's fine. I could go either way right now because Brooks Lennon's playing really, really well. Man of the match performance from him on Saturday. That affects it. So I don't think he's worthless. I think that's unfair. I think he can be a weapon off the bench in a game like this. If you flip it and you're late and you're having to play direct, he becomes a weapon for you. But he's not a 90 minutes player for this team. It just doesn't work in the flow of the game with the players around him. It just doesn't fit.
And to the point that you were just making, Cairo's last point early on, if you want to start the match with urgency, then demonstrate that in your squad selection. I do not understand saving players you don't think, in quotation marks, are 90 minutes fit. Start your best squad, react accordingly if and when a change is necessary.
Yeah, I disagree, Cairo, just because when you're talking, can a player get into the second half, I'm with you. When you're talking, can a player get to halftime, that's a problem. And when you're also factoring in the schedule, because I think Miami showed it last night. When you just play the same group over and over again right now, and you're playing games midweek, you're playing games on the weekend, you're going to burn your group out. You do have to manage it. Orlando managed it very, very effectively. Orlando managed it really well by rotating, playing a little differently than the way they did. You know, they were set up to be a little more conservative. They got the goals to make it work, so everything fell into place for them. You've got to manage that side too. And if you're at a point with Dom, who's played 45 minutes coming into this one in the year, you've got Torres, who's played a handful of minutes this year coming in. You can't play them 60 when they're not ready to play 60 because then you might not have them for a game or two. It is a struggle. And that's just the reality. Barco's injured. He can't. He was injured. He took a knock. He can't give you 90 minutes. It stinks, but I'm with Cairo when you have players who can play 60 minutes. I'll even stretch it. If you want to say right now, because you have 5 subs, if you can play till halftime, if you can play 45, no questions asked, no worry about you needing to come off before that, cool. I can do that. I don't think any of the players that we're talking about at the moment in terms of not having urgency, I don't think they were ready to give you 45 in this one. So I don't think you can factor them in as starters. I don't see that happening. You can't use a first half sub in the 30-minute mark because it counts as one of your sub blocks. If you can get them to halftime, cool. You can make changes at halftime. Got to get 45 minutes in. I think that's the baseline.
Couple from Nathan Pugh this morning for a hashtag A Reaction Monday. He says, A, didn't watch Saturday, did Barco get to play? And he follows it with $5 signs.
I don't know what else to tell people. I mean, there's not a rumor out there of Barco going to Europe right now. There's not one. I mean, I'm looking for even randos on Twitter from Europe who are saying Barco's going to Fiorentina or Barco's going to Lyon or Barco's going here or there. There's really not anything at the moment. So, yeah, he was out because of a knock. That's what the team said. That's what we were told. And there's nothing out there rumored to give me reason to think a move is imminent. I don't know what to say. Doesn't mean it's not happening, but you would have thought that something would have popped up by now. So he played, and he played well. He looked a little rusty early. I thought he got into the flow of it. He's needed right now for this team.
And Nathan's second point this morning, he says, the Messi plot thickens, and that word is in all caps followed by an exclamation point. Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah, that thing's just going to get ridiculous. Barcelona's seeming to take the approach that they're going to fight everything, which is not going to go well. I don't think they have a lot of room to stand on. I know what La Liga said. La Liga can't affect a move outside of La Liga. What La Liga's statement said was basically he can't go to another team in La Liga. It got a whole lot of play. It's not as big of a statement as you think it is because contracts from Barcelona to Manchester City or PSG or Juventus or Inter or whoever else, FIFA's going to handle that. And I don't think FIFA's going to stand in the way of it. La Liga is not going to let him go to another La Liga club because there's not another La Liga club that's trying to get him anyway. So, looks nice, doesn't mean anything. So we'll see. It's going to get ugly. Jorge Messi, who is Lionel's father, who handles his business, is going from Rosario to Barcelona this week. He could get there anytime between Wednesday and Friday. We'll see progress then. He is not taking the testing. He is not training. He does not consider himself part of the Barcelona squad right now. So it's going to get messy. It's going to get to be a real problem because Barcelona is making it a bigger problem than they should.
Must follow on Twitter if you don't already. Guillaume Balaguer. Must follow.
Yeah, he has the best insight of this, English and Spanish coverage, and he will break it down in detail for everybody. It's keeping him away from writing his Diego Maradona book, which I'm not happy about, but Guillaume will break it all down and has the best, I think, understanding of all the moving parts. So definitely make sure you're following him.
He had a thread come out, I want to say it was about 10 to 6 Eastern time this morning. So that would be the early required reading for Monday.
Yes.
Chris Hutchison has a couple of points in this morning. His first, I remember several post-game interviews with Frank de Boer when he'd say something to the effect of, we failed to finish when we were in the final third of the field, end quote. We didn't seem to even be in the final third of the field much on Saturday. Is that an accurate observation on my part? Yeah,
you didn't create enough chances with what you had to work with. I felt like the team got hesitant as they got to the final third far too often. I thought Manuel Castro lacking confidence. Not talking about finishing, I'm talking about getting into the final third. It felt like every time you got 30 yards from goal, the ball came back into the middle third, where Atlanta was very good, and Atlanta had a lot of the possession. By that point, once you broke Orlando's pressure, Orlando was going to drop deeper. So they're going to give you that. They're going to make it difficult for you to get into that final third. But there were times it just felt like Atlanta was hesitant to go and hesitant to do it. Even later in the game where the urgency was on, Jake Mulroney multiple times would beat somebody on the dribble, but then there wasn't a ball to play into the area, or he was reluctant to play it. Only to the very end when that started to change. It's got to change. It's just got to change. I think something that in our Twitch pitch, Bernd Dursberger's mentioned many times, and I'm 100% with him, The movement off the ball has to be better. It has to be better. There's just no way around it. You also have to get some consistency with the lineup. I mean, that's a factor, and I know people don't like to hear what they consider excuses, but when you have so many people who are not 100%, so many people who should be factoring into this team, so many different injuries, you're stuck. I mean, it's hard. It's harder, and especially when you're Stephen Glass and you've come into this midway through. So then you're trying to build to something, and you can't build to something because you don't have all the pieces yet. So you're trying to piece it together. You know, it's very difficult. It adds to that degree of difficulty, but movement has to be better. And I think this team has to be more fearless when they go into the final third. They have to take those chances. And my question, as I've been thinking about this all weekend, is we've seen not awful defending for 90 minutes, but we've seen defensive breakdowns at times that have been surprising and very disappointing. Is the team starting to get gun shy because of that? And they don't want to go into the final third, lose possession, and then get beat in transition. Are they afraid of that? They can't play that way. The defense does have to be better in transition. There's just no way around that. But you can't play scared either in the attack. You just can't. It feels like really Pitti is the only one who is fearless in attacking, and he will try things, and he will try to open the game up. Lennon is as well. Lennon was fearless in attacking from right back in this game. I don't know how he just never gets tired. It's crazy. His fitness is unbelievable. But you've got to have more than that. You've just got to have more than that. I think it's better with Kubo Torres. I think it's better with Jurgen Damm because they don't have some of that baggage. To be perfectly honest, they just don't have some of that baggage that was there before. Hopefully that can breathe some new life into this group. And with them, with Barco getting healthy, that's a lot of forward progressive players who are going to push the game forward. I think that will help open things up. But until then, I don't know.
Second point early on from Chris, he was going through his timeline, saw something from MLS Buzz. Here's what MLS Buzz had to say.
Okay.
Atlanta United's issues are simple. They've gone 18 months without a clear style of play, and their roster is full of mediocre players. They'll win games off talent, but it's not enough.
Well, hold up. How are you winning games off of talent, but you have mediocre players? Like, you are that? No, come on. Let's keep going.
Okay.
That's a silly statement back to back.
Then the last sentence from Buzz is they need a manager who will get the most from the big players and bring cohesion.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris Hutchison asks, does this seem a fair assessment of our team's talent? If so, doesn't it speak to some shortcoming in the front office?
Everybody is jumping on the front office, and that is the go-to right now. That is the go-to because now the team doesn't have talent. I disagree with the whole idea the team doesn't have talent. I disagree with the idea that the team didn't have a way of playing under Frank de Boer. They absolutely did. It wasn't consistent enough. And ultimately, that's why he is no longer here, especially after how it all fell apart in Orlando, and there were no answers to playing without Josef Martinez. But look at the beginning of this season with Josef Martinez in the 3-4-3, and you had a clear way of playing. Look at last season, how that way of playing changed multiple times to accommodate different things that happened throughout the year. You played 3-4-3 at the beginning in a different way than you did this year because of the injury to Franco Escobar. He gets back. You go to a 4-3-3 that is very good defensively, but you're not creating enough going forward. You have injuries. You have suspensions that lead you to a 3-5-2 that solves the going forward problem, and you stick with that. Then in the playoffs, you make some changes as needed in certain matchups, and you keep moving forward. To say that a team that was the third best team in the league last year and was one game away from hosting MLS Cup didn't have a way to play, come on. That's comical. That I don't know how that's just completely lost in the shuffle here at this point. Also, losing your best player seems to be a valid excuse for LAFC, but not one for Atlanta United, and I don't really understand that. You lose Josef Martinez, things don't work as well, period. It's just a fact. Like it or not, it's a fact. My biggest issue with Frank DeBoer in Orlando was the fact that it didn't feel like he had any real way to solve that problem. And the problem was known by then. It felt like you were still trying to grasp at straws to solve it. You can't do that. Kubo Torres coming in is going to help you solve it. Absolutely. I think this roster is better than it gets credit for because I think Mateus Rossetto is a very talented player. I think Brooks Lennon was a very good get. I think you have a lot of talent. I think at times when we talk about what the lineup should be, there's a lot of questions. In the midfield, who should it be? Should it be Lorenowitz right now? Should it be Remedi? Should it be Rossetto? Should it be Heinemann? What should the three be out of those four? Not even including Mo Adams in that right now. I thought Mo struggled in 45 minutes on Saturday. I was disappointed with that. I think you have a lot of talented options. And I think you've built a team now adding Jurgen Damm and Kubo Torres to it that is a very talented roster. You've got to get it playing together. You've got to give Stephen Glass a little bit of time as he came in to try to fix this season. You've got to get everybody healthy. I think it's hard to judge the talent on this roster. It's not a typical August, or almost September now. You've played, how many league games are even under the belt now? I can't keep up with it anymore.
Oh, 7?
Yes. You played 7 games. You would normally be in mid-April, maybe late April, with 7 games. It's still, honestly, in a lot of ways early, and you have these stop-starts that probably sets it back even further. It sucks. It's a bad year, which you couldn't really tell, to have a bunch of transition with the roster. But it was also inevitable. I think the flip side that a lot of people's arguments about the front office and talent drain and those kinds of things, the flip side is you were not going to be able to keep Nagbe because he didn't want to stay. Doug Robertson reported this in November of last year. Nobody's ever challenged his reporting about a contract being offered Darlington Nagbe last summer, long term. This was after he had held out during preseason. And he chose not to take it. He didn't want to take it. He wanted to go. He wanted to either play out his contract and then go for nothing, or, which he would have played this year and then left for nothing, or he wanted to be traded. He was traded for a really good return. That's about all you can do. Julian Gressel, you had to make a decision on was he worth what Gressel and his representation thought he was worth. That happens in the game all the time. With a salary cap, you're going to have to make those harder decisions because you can't just say, well, I don't know if he's worth it. It's, is he worth it and does he fit for us being worth it? They ultimately decided he wasn't. They went and got Brooks Lennon. I don't have a problem with that move. I don't. I think Brooks Lennon has earned that respect from his play. LGP wanted more money. He had an opportunity to make more money. That happened. That's the one that if you want to argue, and a lot of people have, that Fernando Meza is not as good as LGP. I don't think we've seen the best of Meza. I thought we saw good performances from him early. He's injured now. Couldn't see that coming. Also, you couldn't see LGP going to Tijuana and then having a managerial change in 6 months and then bringing in 10 new players and him being on the outs and ended up in Miami. If you could, then tell me the lottery numbers for this week because I'd like to win some money.
Yeah.
That's the one that's maybe the toughest decision. But I also think you are adding Meza to be more of the Parkhurst replacement for the calming presence on the back line in possession and build-up play than to directly replace LGP. I think Miles Robinson turned into that type of replacement. That's the one that I think has the biggest question mark to it, and I'm still okay with the move. I don't know what else to tell you. Tito Villalba wanted guaranteed playing time. Nobody was getting guaranteed playing time with the roster that was being built. Outside of Joseph, and even Pitti wasn't getting guaranteed playing time. So I don't know how Tito Villalba is going to get guaranteed playing time. He was not good last season. There's just no way around it. Tito was amazing in 2017. He was a great weapon in 2018. He was not good in 2019. He had a great opportunity in New York City to play as a wingback going up against a center back playing right back and could not beat Sebastian Ibeagha consistently and then couldn't defend either. And it all fell apart. So you have to move on. That's what's hard about this. That's what's hard about a salary cap league. You can't compare what MLS front offices do to front offices around the world because you have a ceiling with the cap that affects what you can do. I think they've managed it pretty well by bringing in a lot of talent. I don't think they've settled on the best 11 yet, which there are reasons why. Injuries, stop-start, change of coach, all those things. I think they need to settle on what it is. After seeing Josetu a couple games, happy with his acquisition. I was happy with Heineman's acquisition last year. I think both of those were in response to Nagbe. And I think the others you have solved. You've got to get this team playing together, and you've got to get them healthy. Maybe if you want to complain a little bit about how Dom was added and Torres was added, could you have added Dom earlier, potentially? You'd have had to pay a transfer fee, and I don't know if you have the money to work with to make that happen. Torres, you had to make the decision on Joseph. And my guess is they left that door open as long as they could because of what Joseph means to this club. When it became clear that there was not going to be a clear answer on him playing this season, and Kubo Torres is out of contract by that point, you make the decision. So, hindsight's 20/20, always, and it's easy to criticize after the fact, but I don't know what the other moves were at the time in terms of the talent side. And as we go through with a healthy roster, what a lineup would look like, the number of questions we have in it is not because it's mediocre, it's because there is a lot of talent in it. And I don't know what the best 11 is right now with that. That's going to be down to previously Frank de Boer, now Stephen Glass, to make those decisions.
Jason Nix, to your point about a head coach, he says, I think Atlanta needs to get a new coach in sooner rather than later. The last thing I want to see is to wait until the end of the year and then have to deal with, quote, new coach growing pains, end quote, in 2021. Need to get someone in now.
New coach growing pains don't always happen, first off. And I just don't know if you can't get in somebody now, to be perfectly honest. How is my question. Who is the guy that should be there? No questions asked. How are you going to interview them right now? How are you going to get them ready to come into this country? Are they going to want to come into this country right now?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but that factors into it. If you're coming from a country that is having fewer coronavirus issues and you see and hear what's going on around here, you might say, you know what, I'm going to wait this out. Why don't y'all just finish the season out and then
we'll talk.
Then we'll talk. Yeah. I don't know who the clear option is anyway. In a perfect world, Nix, I would agree with you. You'd want to make that change as soon as possible because then you're into the transition. You're already there. This isn't a perfect world right now. I just don't think it's possible to do that because you don't want to make a bad hire just to do it fast. And I don't think there is a clear candidate who is out of work right now who is the no-brainer hire. I don't think there is. I think there are probably people under contract that you would like to hire, and that's not something that happens overnight. I don't know. And I don't know. I don't know how you could do that quickly right now. I don't. Ricky Ricardo just highlighted a message that I've seen in the Twitch pitch, and that helps me see it. So thank you, Ricky. Things have been flying in there. They've been flying on Twitter, so I'm trying to catch as much as I can. Ricky said, remember, this roster was built in FDB's image. Who knows what coach will want which players here and not here. So if you have a roster or style of play issue, it could change going into next year, which is true. It could definitely. And then that's just in addition to the yearly kinds of moves that come up in a cap league. Who's out of contract going into next year? What's your cap space? How much do you have to work with? You do have a significant, or two, honestly, with Barco and Pitti, who both do want to make it to Europe at some point and would like to make that move. Is the deal going to be there for them? If you do that, then you have designated player spots open. Then that changes the conversation about what you can do. You're going to see turnover going into next year. I think it's just the nature of MLS. You're going to see more turnover than some top teams. You see turnover everywhere in the world, but maybe the MLS, the cap, forces a little bit more. So, I don't know. I just don't think you can do it right now, just because I don't think there's the perfect person who's in the United States, who's out of work, who you can say, hey, here's the keys. Come on, let's do this. It's going to be a process for anybody. Go ahead.
Sorry, Joe Laszlo's in this morning. Getting manhandled in our own stadium is not sitting well with me. Nobody gave the OCSC defender a souvenir bandage. Expect more of the same. Hashtag overreaction Monday. Hashtag need LGP.
It's not quite that simple because you're chasing the game. That whole incident was really bizarre. Everybody said afterwards they thought it was red card and penalty, which they should say. Absolutely, they should say that. I understand that. I'm okay with no penalty there because the ball is gone. I've seen penalties given there. I'm putting my hand up straight away. I don't think he fouled Lennon in the process of clearing the ball. I think he was reckless by leaving his boot up after he cleared the ball. And you could give a penalty there, you could not. No way that he should have stayed on the field. Minimum second yellow for reckless, for unsporting behavior, which goes into all these different things. It's just, there's just no way around that for me. I don't know how you look at it and don't, at a minimum, go there. But getting revenge when you're chasing the game's a little tough. We'll see what happens next weekend. We'll see if it's a more physical game because of that straight away. That could definitely happen. The manhandling in terms of Orlando fouling a lot and just in general in the second half, you gave them that opportunity by giving up 2 goals in the first half. It became very easy for Orlando, the way that game played out, to foul, break up the play. They have a 2-goal lead. They can take some cards. They're not worried about it. Foul in the middle third. Just keep breaking up the rhythm. And they did a really good job of it. It's an easy strategy. If you start reacting to that, you're going to see cards and you're going to get people sent off. So it's tough. I understand the mentality. I totally do. But the way that happened and when it happened, there really wasn't a lot of time for a receipt to be paid. Would not surprise me at all if a receipt is paid early on in the match on Saturday, maybe on a set piece where a wayward arm goes out and connects with a certain number 25 for Orlando. Yeah. That's normally how these things get done, and it wouldn't shock me if that happened. Hopefully it doesn't get seen by the cameras and punished.
No, I mean, for me, at the very least, I would have thought it would have been a second yellow, and then you would have had, Carlos sent off. But that whole thing, to me, I was stunned / shocked, and then you see just the marks.
No. I'm gonna push back, and I'm usually the one who will throw referees under the bus on these kinds of things. I'm actually pushing back on this one because I'm not stunned, shocked, and whatever other words you were going to say. Penalty's a 50-50 to me because he didn't make contact with him in clearing the ball or winning the tackle. The penalty's a 50-50 call to me. Red card, yellow card, or no card. I thought no card was the least likely of those 3 scenarios, but it's not completely and utterly impossible. A second yellow, not giving a second yellow, is not shocking, appalling to me. It's a decision the referee made that I think is incorrect, but you would have had a man advantage for what, 5-6 minutes?
Yeah.
So I mean, they would have been able to. They had extra defenders. They could have made a 4-4-1 or whatever they wanted to do defensively. So, I mean, you would have had a man advantage, but it would have been for a short period of time. It didn't affect the outcome of the game, so I'm not too shocked and appalled, I guess is the way I'm at. The drop ball now, the drop ball, Tesco brings that up. That was maybe what irritated me the most, and it's a minor thing because the referee waited to blow the whistle until a cross was in the air. The last team to touch the ball was Atlanta. The new drop ball rules, the ball should have been dropped back to Atlanta in that situation. Now, it would have still been tough to deal with because Orlando doesn't have to give you 10 yards at that point. They're supposed to give you 4 meters, which is how many yards? A yard and a half?
Well, yeah, it's like, I thought it was like 8.8, so it's like...
4 meters is 8.8 yards?
No, 8.8 feet, I thought.
Okay, so about like 3 yards.
3-4 yards.
Okay, that's fine. So you would have had somebody really close. You'd have dropped the ball to him. Somebody would have closed you down quickly. But Atlanta shouldn't have regained possession at midfield either. So that was maybe the part that I'm like, he completely got this part wrong. The rest are judgment things that I don't like. The drop ball, I think he just did it completely incorrectly. Sorry, go ahead and finish what you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The idea of going to the monitor and still coming up empty, I thought was the bigger head scratcher of the whole thing. If you're not going to call something one way, then you actually go to the monitor and reference something, and you still come up with no call, no call, no card, nothing. That to me was the larger head scratcher to me.
Now, the way you're putting it is incorrect, though. Nima Sagafi didn't say, well, I don't know if I got that call right. Let me go look at it. That's not how it goes down. Jorge Gonzalez, the VAR, buzzed him and said, this is a possible penalty kick. That's what the MLS VAR Twitter account said they were checking. I don't know if they were also checking a red card. Gonzalez said it's a possible penalty kick. And Sagafi was convinced to say, okay, I'm going to go take another look at it. It wasn't Sagafi, because the way you said it makes it sound like, well, maybe he wasn't sure of his first call, so he's going to go look at it. That's not how it plays out. He's being told by somebody else that they think there was a clear and obvious error made in the decision, and he was convinced enough to say, well, maybe there was, I'm going to go take a peek. That's the way that conversation happens. But if they were only looking at penalty, and he said there's no penalty, I get that one. I understand that one. Again, we've seen it given, but I get that one. If he was also looking at red or yellow, well, he can't look at yellow, but he can look at red and give a yellow, and he didn't see anything, then that's a problem. If he saw it and then didn't look at that and say, well, there's nothing there on the decision either, then I still have a problem with it. I still think it should have been a second yellow. But that's a tough one. I mean, it's an awkward situation all the way around. It didn't affect the result of the game. I want that to be clear. It didn't. I don't think it had any effect on the outcome of the game. The biggest effect it had was cleat marks on Brooks Lennon's neck and side of his head.
Nix has come back in this morning, and I would suggest maybe going ahead and going like this and getting ready for a response.
Okay.
He says, I think the front office has done a horrible job the last 2 years. Tell me one position where we've upgraded talent. Go ahead, I'll wait.
One position where we've upgraded talent in the last couple of years, the right side. I'm sorry, Brooks Lennon is an upgrade from Julian Gressel. He's a different kind of player, and he gives you things that you didn't have. Julian Gressel would not have been able to fit in the 3-4-3 that it seems like Frank de Boer had in mind. Brooks Lennon could. Brooks Lennon can play right back in a line of four. Julian Gressel can't. Gressel is best as a wing back in a 3-5-2 kind of setup where there's not a lot of defensive responsibilities, or in a 4-3-3 where he is going to be kind of stationed up high. You're playing a 4-3-3 now, but if you want to look at the way, because it's not a straight one for one here thing because of the way that the formations have changed. I don't know, this is just me, maybe I'm wrong. I think Brooks Lennon and or Jurgen Damm are upgrades on the right side from Julian Gressel. However you want to look at where Gressel would fit into this team right now. I think that's true. I know a lot of people disagree. That's completely fine. Cubo Torres is an upgrade on what you had at forward behind Joseph Martinez. That also just became available. If you want to compare Meza to LGP, I don't think that's the case, but okay, I'll go with you on that one. I think Meza is an upgrade on where Michael Parkhurst was last season, and he's retired, so he wasn't going to be here anyway. Central mid, it's hard to upgrade from Darlington Nagbe. He's an amazing player, but he didn't want to be here. So, I mean, what's the upgrade of getting something rather than nothing. And I do think Mateus Rossetto is a very good player that is going to give you as good of a replacement as you can find for Darlington Nagbe, with the restrictions you have on the cap. I do think that. I think if you want to leave Dom out of the Gressel conversation and you want to compare Jurgen Damm to Tito Villalba, is it an upgrade? I would say yes. So, I mean, it's not about just upgrading either. And I think that's an easy thing to fall into because we always go to, it's the Nagbe replacement, it's the LGP replacement, it's the Gressel replacement. It's not always a like-for-like replacement. It's not always a one-for-one because of the cap. You're not just looking at, I lost this player, I'm adding this player. You're also looking at, I'm adding this player, and I might be adding this over here, and I have limited space. That's what makes this a bigger challenge. I just don't think this roster is as bad as people say. I mean, if you're winning games on talent, but it's a bad roster, explain that one to me. And if you had Joseph Martinez, we're having a very different conversation. Injuries happen, and they wreck good rosters. It's it's an excuse that people don't want to hear, but it's a valid one. If Carlos Vela is an excuse for LAFC, then Joseph Martinez is absolutely an excuse for Atlanta United.
John Nason's in this morning, and on his Overreaction Monday, he says, do you think there's any chance we see the Pitti, Barco, Mulraney, Kubo, Dom front five under normal circumstances? I'm going with we're not there just yet.
I don't know if you can get that five together, to be honest. Kubo, I think you'll be able to get there by Saturday, maybe by Wednesday, but you might not be able to do both. Dom is probably further away. Pitti, Barco's probably about the same as Kubo in terms of fitness, just judging from the minutes they played. Pitti's okay, but maybe you want to rest him one of these games because he's played a lot of minutes. Mulraney on the left, I don't know if he's got that spot yet. I'm not sure. Because I'm trying to think. If you go that, then you're saying you're playing 4 and 1 behind. And that's going to be somewhat risky because you're playing Pitti and Barco centrally in that situation. Barco's got to function as an 8 and drop back and help, because then you're leaving Lorenowitz, Remedi, Josetu, Hindman, or Adams as the one holding midfielder and a line of 4 behind, probably with Bello, Meza if he was healthy, in this case Walks, Robinson, and Escobar and or Lennon on the right side. That's the one that I'm really curious to see what happens when everybody's healthy and available. Who plays on the right side in the 4-3-3 that we're seeing right now? At right back and at right wing. Escobar, Dom, Lennon can play either spot. Who's sitting out? Or how are you going to move it around to make it work? I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. That's going to be a challenge because you have options there, and none of those 3 suck. So I don't know.
A couple thoughts from Bartimus Prime this morning. He says, I know we don't rate Lennon as highly as others, but he scored a goal and had 2 of our best chances in the 2 matches.
Who doesn't, first off? Who doesn't rate Lennon as highly as others? Because, man, I've been so impressed with him. I think that was a really good kid.
If I just go ahead and say that all I've seen is Brooks Lennon work his ass off, is that appropriate? Yeah,
but it's not. He's not just that. I mean, I don't want to say that as like, well, he's playing hard. You know, I don't want to go like, 4th Division England on everybody. Like, he's playing hard. He's getting into dangerous spots. He's defending well. His crossing needs to be better. Yeah, it was better here. I think his service was better in this match, but his crossing needs to continue to improve, 100%. But, I mean, he was your most dangerous player inside the 18 in this game, and he's playing right back. Mm-hmm. Some of it was set pieces, but Brooks Lennon has been possibly your best player all season.
And, Bart says he had 2 of our best chances in the 2 matches in the restart. As a wing player, he's created chances for himself in front of goal.
No, and Ragamuffin said Rudy played hard for Notre Dame, still barely played. That's why I'm trying to make that point. Lennon's done a whole lot more than just play hard.
Yeah.
Lennon has potentially been the team's best player in 2020.
And Bart says on the opposite side, we've all moaned about Adam John's lack of quality, but what does that say about J.J. Williams? It seems like a really worthless signing at this point. I'm disappointed Castro has not taken advantage of his starting.
Yeah, but hold on. J.J. Williams was a free get because he was free. I mean, he's not on your senior roster. He's a Generation Adidas player that's on a supplemental roster spot. You didn't lose anything by getting J.J. Williams. So you needed depth up top at that point. He was available. You bring him in. Also, when you did that, you thought that maybe he would be playing some for Atlanta United too because, there's that whole pandemic thing and the timing of all that. J.J. Williams isn't a big deal. Castro is one that it just hasn't worked for him. I wondered when the signing happened where he fit in the 3-4-3 that we were seeing from Frank de Boer. I think he's traditionally a right winger. That's what he's played in his career. We had the talk about going into Orlando that he could play up top. He didn't finish your opportunities in that game against the Red Bulls. We didn't see him in that position again. Saw him on the right wing here, and he looked very tentative. It's been a rough year for him, and he has no confidence at the moment. I think that's obvious in the way he's playing. I'm not writing him off as a bad player, but I don't know if you're going to get anything out of him this year. I don't see him staying. He's also on a loan, so I don't see him staying this season. Could you potentially say that the loan for the first 6 months, which is what it was supposed to be originally, was intended to fill the gap until you got Jurgen Damm? Because by all accounts, Jurgen Damm was coming well before he was announced. Possibly. You extended the loan because there was no clear point in him going back to playing at Estudiantes because nobody even knew what the schedule was going to be for them right now. And you had Joseph get injured in the meantime. So Castro's a minor thing because I don't think he was seen as the Alba replacement or the Gressel replacement or any hashtag replacement. I think Castro was available. He was alone, and you wanted to see what he had with that option to keep him permanently. I don't think he's done enough to get that deal done. So I think he goes back to Estudiantes at the end of the season.
And the last thought on Twitter for the moment comes from El Mataflow discussing thoughts in the midfield. He says, definitely missing someone to occupy the same role as Jeff. Remedi just is not suited to sit in that role. Adams doesn't fit the role.
Adams fits the role, but he's not at the level you need. Adams and Remedi both like to roam. I think they're best suited to play with somebody who's going to sit more. I think you get the best out of both of them. Now, I know Remedi's played as a 6 in a 4-1-4-1 during his time at Bonfield before he came to Atlanta. It hasn't been consistent enough for him in that role that we've seen him in here. Good game against Nashville. He was okay Saturday. I mean, I didn't think he was bad, but he wasn't great. We talked about this a lot on Saturday night on our impromptu viewing party / MLS After Dark. Atlanta needs to prioritize a top number 6 going into next season. We don't know if that was on the list of priorities this season. We don't know if it was just unable to be completed. We don't know if the other moves with Nagbe wanting to go, Gressel wanting more money and then wanting to go, Villalba wanting to go, LGP then wanting to go. We don't know if those moves took away the opportunity to go get a 6. We know that there have at least been in the spring and summer talk about Jonathan Gonzalez coming. That deal couldn't get done, it sounded like, according to Today NA, from that side of the deal. So there was at least a look to get a 6 at that point. Don't know if there had been a look to get one before. It's, I think, a necessary component to get this team with all of the attacking talent where you want it to be. Because what I just said about Remedi and Adams, and I would put Josetu and Heinemann into that conversation as well, because none of them are guys who can play the 6 by themselves. And if you want to find a way to play, for now, Barco, Pitti, Dom, one of Josetu, Heinemann as a central midfielder who can drop and help, but bomb forward and contribute in the attack, and a striker, you need a 6 who can stay at home and just lock it down. And you don't have that right now. You just don't. So if you want to be as attack-minded as it sounds like, and it looks like from the deals that you've made, you need that 6 who can free everybody up to go forward more. That has to be a priority going into next season. I think it's critical. That's where I'm at with that. We see some teams play a double pivot. We see some teams play a single number 6 or number 5 if you're in Argentina as by themselves. I think Atlanta is edging towards wanting to play one defensive midfielder who in a 4-1-4-1, 4-3-3, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing, can drop in between the center backs and help defend and turn it into 3 at times, can stay in front of the center backs in the build-up phases and be strong defensively and can distribute. You've got to have somebody who can distribute. And we've seen players come into the league who can give you those elements this year, and not on big contracts. Jose Martinez in Philadelphia, different system in the midfield, but he has made Jamiro Montero better because Montero can go forward. I think the moves that Orlando made, Andres Perea was a really good pickup, a 19-year-old on loan from Atlético Nacional, born in Tampa, so he doesn't take up an international spot. He was really good in this match. And they have a ton of central midfielders and with different characteristics. Rosell is your possession guy, good on the ball, maybe not as good defensively. Mendez is your all-action, going to cover everything, going to fly into every tackle possible, can get forward, maybe a little risky at times. Perea might be the in-between. Junior Urso showed in this one that he can get forward and contribute from a central midfield role. You've got guys with different characteristics. Atlanta has that. They don't have the 6 part of it. Not who can play 90 minutes every week, because I don't think Jeff Larentowicz can do that now. But right now, if you were in a must-win game, if you were in a critical final tomorrow, I think Jeff Larentowicz starts. And that's probably the position it has to upgrade going into the offseason.
All right, we are officially caught up on the Twitters. What's going on elsewhere?
Lots of stuff on the Twitch pitch, as usual. I can't keep up with all of it as it's flying through. I believe there's lots of sports movie conversation this morning as things get talked about with Rudy and then Damir Krylock and his Karate Kid action. Adam from 816 asked what we thought about the Gianluca Busio goal, and it was spectacular. What a little stroke of genius from Peter Vermes to drop Busio into that role, and it seems to suit him. You see it sometimes with a creative player like a Busio who is very good going forward, but maybe isn't fast enough, or maybe doesn't have the lungs to be more of a true 8 or a 10. I think of a player like Andrew Carlton. Could Andrew Carlton drop into a role like a Gianluca Busio? Now, Busio can't play the 6 by himself. He's got to have somebody paired up with him who can do a lot of the work around. But, teams did that with Andrea Pirlo for a long time, and they found a way to make it work. Now, you've got to be worth building your team around in that way. You've got to show that you can do that. I don't think that's where Atlanta's headed in terms of style. But for what Kansas City wants to do, it's a perfect fit. Because then you get another attacking player in a deeper role who can help you defensively, who's okay, but can spring attacks and then be that last man coming through. Now, in Atlanta's system, could that be an Emerson Hyndman and Mateo Sosetsu? I think it could, who can give you that mix. But this is a great move for Vermes, and I think it's given Busio a whole new range of possibilities.
Off of that, what team gave you, in your eyes, the best performance this weekend?
Well, let's look at it. Let's look at the results from the weekend. If you did not watch the rest of the matches, there were some good ones. There were some interesting ones. We'll work backwards. So last night, Seattle beating LAFC. Did not surprise me. I just don't think LAFC is the team that everybody thinks that they are. Without Carlos Vela, without a center back, they have still not replaced Walker Zimmerman. I do not get it. I don't get why they moved him when they did. I mean, it was a good deal. They got a lot of resources. But when you're still relying on Danilo Silva or Dejan Jakovic, it's no bueno. Seattle's going to beat them at home more often than not, and they did. And what a goal from Raul Ruidiaz, although now there's a little bit of an injury concern there. I thought Nashville was good. Miami really didn't have a whole lot of ideas. I thought Nashville was good in that match. I thought Tabrian Anunga was very, very good. Gives them another weapon in the midfield. I was talking about it on our chat in the SDH green room, and I would not be surprised to see Nashville at times, and maybe against Atlanta, go 4-3-2-1. Like, go Christmas tree with it, because they're going to sit and defend more anyway than get out in the break. Go with the line of 4 that we've seen consistently. Play McCarty, Godoy, Anunga as your 3 central midfielders. Bring Mukhtar and Leal in. Give them free roles. They can go float. They can go out wide. They can come inside. And then settle on a number 9. I think it should be Daniel Rios. I know Gary Smith likes Dominique Badji a lot. I don't think it's Abu Danladi. He's played out wide pretty much for this team. They need a number 9, but that gives them even more solidity in the middle of the field. Anunga showed he can play in MLS. I think one of the most impressive performances on the weekend was Real Salt Lake.
Yep, that was mine.
Down 4-2 late, and with all of the things swirling around Deloy Hansen, they showed a lot of guts to get that result that they did. It's a credit to those players, and it's a credit to the leadership in that locker room, because it would have been really easy to shut it down after a really hard week, and they kept fighting for the badge and for the fans back home. So I give RSL a ton of credit. If you haven't heard the latest on Hansen, feels like it's been a statement every day. Yesterday it came out, and he issued a statement. He also sent a letter to the team that RSL Soapbox on the SB Nation set of sites posted. And the MLS announced it, that he is going to sell all of his soccer properties. And that includes everything from RSL, Real Monarchs, Utah Royals, stadium, training facility, the high school attached to the training facility, academy. The foundation is going to be part of this. All of that is going to be part of these deals, and he is going to move on. And look, I mean, in his statement and in the letter he gave to the players, he said all the right things. He sounded contrite. It doesn't get him any credit in my book. There was a lot of pushback on the MLS statement that acknowledged his contributions to soccer in Utah. I could care less. I mean, the NWSL did too, but then they added a but to it. I don't care. He's going to get out, and he's not going to fight it, which I was worried about. So that's going to move on, and it needs to quickly. We've heard Josie Altidore say that he knows people who are interested. J.J. Watt was very vocal yesterday with it. Neither one would have the money to do this themselves, but we're seeing groups come together now. Utah Jazz ownership have expressed an interest as well. So it'll happen, and I think it'll happen before the year is out. You can't make a deal of probably, I'll throw $500 million as the baseline number here. You can't make a deal like that happen overnight. Those kind of deals don't just happen. So the fact that he's not fighting it, that was my biggest concern that would hold it up. I'm glad he's out of the way.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing for the game.
No doubt. And sorry, no, I just seeing that he's not going to fight it. For me, that's the biggest issue in all of this. He has said all the right things in all the releases, but let's just get this to where all of these, and this is a lot of moving parts, and I think that this is what folks have to understand. There's a lot of moving parts here, and while it sounds easy to sit there and say, yes, sell, there's a lot of different stuff here. You mentioned the high school and the training facilities, multiple stadia, 3 teams, all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that has to be figured out for the individual / groups that want to be a part of this thing going forward. Yes.
It's just it's a big deal. I mean, it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of vetting to do, and getting that much money together is not an easy thing to do at the moment. So we will see how it comes down, but he's going to step aside, which is helpful. Yeah. Galaxy beat San Jose 3-2. That was kind of a wild game, as you would expect. I'm impressed with the Galaxy winning back-to-back games. Colorado and Sporting Kansas City 1-1. Colorado getting a point there at home. I guess it's better than where they've been, but it's still not good. Dallas was really impressive, 3-1 over Minnesota, because they've been bad lately. They've had some bad news with Reggie Cannon in Portugal. Looks like he's going to Boa Vista, but people are saying that it's going to be a transfer. Boa Vista's never paid more than $1 million in a transfer deal, and you would think Reggie Cannon's going to get more than that. Is it going to Boa Vista on loan from Dallas, maybe, and then making a bigger sale after that? Might not be a bad piece of business. Or another club purchasing him and then him going on loan to Boa Vista. That is also possible. If I was Dallas at this point, because he's going to go to Europe, he's going to go to Europe, and if the numbers aren't where you want him to be at the moment, but Boa Vista will take him on loan, he can play in the Portuguese top flight and have a bigger spotlight on him for European eyes at least, do it. Do it. That's smart business. We'll see if they end up doing that. We'll see how this goes down, because I just don't see Boavista throwing $3-4 million at Dallas right now, because I think that's probably what it would take. 2.5, I guess, would be the bottom line of it. I don't know. And Paxton Pomacall looks like he could have surgery that could take him out for the rest of the year. He has not been able to just get fit. And it looks like this will be something that could help him in the long run. It feels a little bit like George Bellows' surgery last year, where it was just something that was nagging, something that didn't heal on its own. You need to do it now. If you're going to bite the bullet in a year and have this kind of surgery, this is the kind of year to do it. So, New England and Red Bulls 1-1. They canceled each other out. We still don't really know anything about those two teams in terms of where they stand. New York City figuring out how to score goals. That's a step in the right direction. I think the most impressive team of the weekend was Philadelphia. They were playing D.C., who we know D.C.'s not been doing so well. There was some comical defending at times from D.C., but Philadelphia, 4 goals. I think they made a little bit of a statement. Cincinnati made a statement, keeping Columbus off the board, 0-0, and you could argue that Cincinnati was the better team in that match. Toronto winning 1-0 Friday night was about what you would think. Orlando's win is one of the best wins of the weekend as well. They got help in it because I think their goals came from Atlanta mistakes for the most part, rather than Orlando creating a lot from the run of play, but they were very good, very organized, and they were able to rotate their squad but still get a result that they'd never been able to get before. So Orlando's win, Philadelphia's win, RSL's comeback, those are the 3 performances that stand out to me.
Yeah, Philadelphia gets 2 from Shabilko, 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 16th. Sergio Santos gets 1 in the 21st. Brendan Harrison gets the 4th one on the board, and then Julian Gressel scores to make it 4-1. So, yeah, for me, I'll go RSL, then I'll go Philadelphia, and then I'll go LA Galaxy for my number 3.
Okay. Well, he's not number 3 in anybody's book.
Number 1 in your heart.
He is, and you need to tell us about our good friend Steve Apolinsky right about now.
I could do that. Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. Wrongful death and serious injury attorneys for clients in Georgia and Alabama. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in those 2 states. If this is a road that you need to go down and you want to catch up with Steve Apolinsky and Apolinsky and Associates, a couple different ways that you can do it. Go to the website, aa-legal.com, and when you hit enter or whatever button on whatever device you're using to go to aa-legal.com, a pop-up window pops up, because that's what pop-up windows do. You can have a live conversation 24/7, 365, or as Chris Hutchison pointed out to me, 365 and a quarter. And get your answers that way. You can also shoot Steve an email at steve@aa-legal.com, or give him a buzz and get a free consultation, 404-377-9191. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine, top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of soccer down here in the SDH network. The website is aa-legal.com.
Alrighty. If you did not hear or see our news from the weekend, we are now an affiliate of Fanatis. Fanatis actually added, under the radar, Tigo Sports out of Guatemala. I was watching some Guatemalan league this weekend.
Nice.
If you are not a subscriber to Fanatis, and I know a lot of you are because you've heard us talk about it, and we appreciate that, and they appreciate that. You don't have to do anything. We don't get credit for you guys. We just take you as a good pat on the back. So if you want to help out the show and you're interested in subscribing to Fanatis, you go to www.fntz.co/soccerdownhere. It'll take you to the Fanatis page, but it links you into our affiliate program, and if you subscribe, if you even take the free 7-day trial, we get a little bit of a kickback, and that's kind of cool, you know? I'm just saying.
Assistance.
We get a little assistance. That helps us, do some things and stuff, and it's good. But Fanatis has been great if you're looking for the South American game, especially. If you're looking for BN Sports, they have it. Goal TV, they have it. If you're a Real Madrid fan, they have Real Madrid TV in English and Spanish. They have Sevilla TV in Spanish as well. But they've got TIC Sports out of Argentina. They have all of the Argentine League matches and they have the Brasileiro both first and second division. That's a separate package. You got to add that one on. I did that, and I've been enjoying it because it's a league that I haven't watched as intently in the past as it just hasn't been available in the past. I think Gold TV had it like 10, 12 years ago, and I watched some of it and haven't really seen it regularly since. So you've got all the South American leagues for the most part. I know they're working to continue to add more, but you'll have in normal seasons Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, Uruguay, Colombia, I believe Bolivia and Chile as well. And you also get Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana. With BN, you get La Liga, you get the Turkish Super League, you get the Portuguese First Division with Gold TV, all kinds of stuff. And then they also, one thing I like too is if you don't get a chance to see a game live, their game broadcasts, they archive for you for a period of time. So if you missed the whole Flamengo match yesterday out of Brazil, you can go back and watch the whole thing. You don't have to have a DVR to do it. They do that for you. So fntz.co/soccerdown here if you want to help us out and get a very cool subscription service to watch more soccer, because we all need more soccer, right?
Yes, we do. So let me ask you this. Since, first and foremost, you got me hooked on Fanatics, and I subscribed, is there a service within Fanatics that I should add, considering how much I'm now watching Teise and watching guys yell at each other and things like that?
Well, no, you have three things. I mean, you have the basic level that gets you almost everything. You have an Italian pack if you want Italian language programming from Rai Italia, which will have Serie A games, I think 3 or 4 a weekend, in Italian language. You know, you get those in English on ESPN Plus, but in Italian language, Rai Italia has it. You can subscribe to that. The Brasileiro pack gets you the first and second division of Brazilian matches, and that's a $7.99 a month deal, or you can pay for the year and save some. The regular package with BN, with Gold TV, with the Argentine League, with Teise, that's $7.99 a year, or you can save if you do it annually. So those are the three things. The two add-ons are the Brasileiro and the Rai Italia. And if for some reason you just want Brazil, then you can get just Brazil and don't get the rest if you're a huge Brazilian fan. So Toto Dynamo's on Fanatics. He says they're great. Been using them for years. Good for you guys getting that partnership. We hope to do more too. You know, as we both grow a little bit, Fanatics is really starting to add a lot of stuff here lately. I love the Amazon app. Like it was something that I used a lot before I had smart TV, before I could I'd do Chromecast, I'd watch stuff on my laptop, on the phone. But now with the Fire TV, the app for Fanatics is great. I mean, I have Teise on most of the time because they cover the game all around the world. I mean, a lot of Argentina, obviously, but they cover everything. So I enjoy it. Right now, there is alarma por síntomas de coronavirus at Boca. River had a scare last Friday. Now Boca's got a scare, and the buses are loaded up, and I guess everybody's going to get tested. That's what we're seeing. They also go 8-box on training. Yeah, guys are going into the buses now, so I guess they're going to get checked out. It sounds like somebody has symptoms. Maybe nobody's tested positive yet. Possible positive cases.
Yeah, see, for me, as a breaking news junkie, and this is probably more of a soccer over there discussion, but last week with all the stuff that was going on with Messi and Barcelona, watching everything that Teise was doing with their cameras and the protests and the police and everything, I was locked into Teise for stuff like that last week.
Yeah, they've been all over the Messi stuff. I mean, they've got people outside of the compound at Barca. It's wild. Clayton Poss asked if the basic plan allows you to watch River and Boca, and it does. The basic plan will get you Teise. So you've got, that's their ESPN, essentially. And any games that they show will be there. But also, they have the rights to all the Argentine League games. So the games that are on TNT in Argentina, which is a Turner property, by the way. It's a sports network in Argentina. The games that are aired there are on Fanatics. So, yes, it is sweet. Mm-hmm. I am a fan.
Like I said, you got me plugged into that, and I'm pretty much hooked. So,
Toto Dynamo with the update on River. Thank you. River's in complete quarantine right now. Players and staff in the hotel, no contact with the outside world. Are they waiting on test results? I'm guessing, because I think they had... I thought I saw that the goalkeeper coach tested positive. That was the last I saw with it. Both of these teams, along with some others, are getting ready for Copa Libertadores play. Looks like the Argentine little mini league they're going to do this fall isn't going to start until September 27th. But Copa Libertadores, the first round of the restart, is September 15th, 16th, and 17th. So River's in there, Boca's in there. You've got teams preparing for that, and this is not going to make it easy to prepare. But this kind of stuff's happening all over the South American continent as well. Craziness. But we'll keep you posted on it. A lot of that we'll talk about on Soccer Over There tonight for sure. Toto said yes, that's what it is. It's the goalkeeper coach. They're waiting on test results at River. Other teams are training in groups of 6 so far, so it's moving forward. Shiva said, if you're already subscribed and renew, will you guys get credit? I think you would have to, and I'm not 100% sure of this. I think you would have to cancel your subscription and then resubscribe with that link to do it, which you don't have to do. It's okay.
Tell your friends to do.
The best way to do that was if you were... Yeah, tell your friends for sure. Spread the word and share that link. We've posted it on our Twitter and on our Facebook as well. But I think the best thing to do in that regard, if you wanted to drop the monthly and do it as an annual, which saves you, I think, 2 months. I think basically you're paying for... You're getting 12, you're paying for 10 if you do it as the annual. That would be the way to do it, would be to cancel and then maybe use a different email address to sign up as, a new one and do the annual. That would probably do it. But don't feel like you have to do all that. That's all fine. Spread the word.
Yes, spread the word. How are we on scarves, by the way?
Well, we have scarves. We have a few of the old scarves. We are, it looks like, actually going to get the Peachtree Post scarves in this week, which is super fast from Die Hard. If you are looking for scarves, Die Hard Custom is absurd. I thought it was going to be a month. It looks like we're going to get them this week. So we'll start getting those out to everybody. There are, I don't have it in front of me. I think it's 10 left of the Peachtree Post scarves. If you want one, you better get them now because they're not going to be made again. $20, that includes your shipping. Send us a message on Twitter. Send us a message on Facebook. Send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com, and let us know you want one of those scarves. They are almost gone before they even show up here. So if you want one, you better get one now. We will be doing another scarf soon, and it will be part of an initiative that I'm connecting the dots on. So it's going to be pretty fun. So stay tuned on that. That'll probably be in the next month or so. But Peachtree Post, there's like 10 left. You better get it fast.
And then go to our Teespring store for all of our SDH gear. The NWO appreciation gear seems to be very popular these days.
Yeah, it's moving pretty well. It's awesome. Been really happy to see you guys wearing the stuff. The hats that you've gotten from us, the scarves, the stuff on Teespring. Thank you. Thanks for supporting the show. I mean, look, we're not getting rich off of this, but it gives us enough of a cushion to commit more time to doing it and doing more things because we want to keep doing more and hopefully keep growing it. So we are working. Clayton Poss asked on Fanatis, can we watch Tito? You can watch him in Libertadores because Libertad is playing in Libertadores. So those games will be on BN Sports that you can watch on Fanatis. They don't have the Paraguayan League yet. Now, I'm hopeful because they added Tigo Sports out of Guatemala. Now, that one doesn't have it. But Tigo is, it's like an ESPN in Latin America. So there's different ones in different countries. Tigo in Paraguay has the rights to the Paraguayan League. So I'm wondering if this is a little bit of a precursor that you will see Tigo and Paraguay come in. Because I'd like to see the Paraguayan League. I tweeted it last night. Hilarious situation in the big derby in Paraguay last night It was Cerro Porteño, Miguel Almiron's former club, and Olimpia, Eric Lopez's former club. And striker for Cerro Porteño missed a penalty badly.
Ooh,
the goalkeeper got up in his face talking trash, like really giving him the business.
Mm-hmm.
Second half, that striker beats the goalkeeper near post with a rocket and then grabs a ball and goes and sits down on the goal line. I mean, it was epic. You're going to talk trash like that, you can't get beat near post. You just can't get beat near post. Hilarious video clip. I would like to see more of the Paraguayan League, especially those teams, and especially if we're going to keep adding Paraguayan players from the Paraguayan League. That's the biggest reason I got into Fanatis, was so I could keep an eye on these games, and then it helped me a ton with Eric Remedi when he came to Atlanta. Bonfield games were archived for the last, I think 4 or 5. So I was able to go back and watch some games. I had a better sense of what he was bringing to the table. Bernd asks when Libertadores starts. September 15th, 16th, and 17th is the first round of Libertadores games in the restart. I think Sudamericana is around the same time. Those are all on BN and on BN Connect, which is all on Fanatis. So you can watch all that there.
Rich Ransom is in this morning. He says, while good to hear the RSL group is for sale, I think it's an overreaction. The expectations that the group will be relocated. Too much progress has been made in that area of the country compared to the Columbus move and Union 141.
Union were great. It's a huge overreaction that any part of that would be relocated or should be relocated. I don't think it should. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, buy the Utah Royals and bring them to Atlanta. No, keep them in Utah. They don't have a ton of history there, but it's a big investment that I'd like to see stay. Get an expansion team for Atlanta. I don't want to see any components of that move. I think what RSL has done with limited budgets, I mean, they're always going to be low in revenue. It's just the factor of being in a smaller market. They've run a good ship financially. You can talk about how they've run a lot of other things. It's a different question. But in terms of the finances, whoever buys it, they're not going to be taking on a bunch of debt outside of what they've built from an infrastructure standpoint. It's a really good investment. I mean, it really can be a good investment here. So I don't think it's moving. I don't think it's going anywhere, and I don't think it should.
Jason Heinley says he can't listen live this morning, but what's the chances of seeing some different starting pieces next match?
Well, I think you're going to see rotation just because guys can't keep going 90. We're seeing injuries happen around the league because guys are playing a lot right now, and it's just difficult. There's just no way around it, and these things happen in every season. This season, we're seeing more of it than ever before. So, in terms of changes to the lineup, questions about Kubo, is he ready to start? Questions about Barco, is he ready to start because they played 30 on Saturday? Hindman, what's his timeline for being available for selection again? Escobar will be back in the lineup, but at whose expense? I would assume Castro's, and Lennon would go back to right wing. I just don't even think Brooks Lennon gets tired, so I'm not even thinking about that. But at some point, he's going to. Pitty's played a lot of minutes, but without the other pieces, can you afford to not have him start? I don't know. But I do think it'll be a different lineup than we saw on Saturday. I think that's an inevitability with the scheduling right now.
The Colonel's in this morning, and Colonel, the Swansea City preview is coming up later this week. So I've got to add my sound bites to it and then add it to the network. So we'll have our Swansea City preview coming up in just a little bit. But the Colonel says RSL getting sorted out now that WNBA needs to move Kelly Loeffler out. Hashtag Somos Atlanta.
Yeah. It's different in the sense that, oh man, the things that Deloy Hansen got caught doing publicly were really bad, and those are equal, but the things that The Athletic brought out in their article are taking it to a whole nother level. I have not seen any of those kinds of things from Miss Loeffler, correct? That's not her married name, or is it?
No, it's not her married name.
Okay, so Ms. We'll go Ms. to be safe.
Ms.
Loeffler. I have not seen the comments like what Deloy Hansen said to Kellen Acosta, but yes, this needs to be something that gets figured out, and to keep the Atlanta dream in Atlanta. Absolutely.
There's a deep dive on ESPN.com about Kelly Loeffler in the last couple of seasons of her ownership that came out this past weekend.
It's a clown show in the way that she's acted about it, but is there anything along these lines, or is it just mismanagement?
It's the
not being aligned,
politicization.
Yeah,
is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. They need to find a way to get out of that situation. It's harder because Hansen had no room to stand on to try to stay, and luckily he's not making it more difficult. Disagreeing about politics is a little bit different conversation, but she needs to move on. Somebody needs to find a way to get that team from her.
And Chiefs coach Steve is requesting a scarf once again. How does he do it, real quick?
Scarf. So you can, if either one, the Peachtree Post scarf or the Holding Midfielders Appreciation Society, send us a message on Twitter. You can send it to me individually if you want, because I'll be shipping it. So go ahead and cut out the middleman. You can also email soccerdownhere@gmail, and I'll give you the instructions for how to order. You'll be paying with PayPal, and I'll send you the address to do that with.
All right. Caught up on Twitter once again.
Okay. Twitch pitch. It's your time now. It took a little bit longer than I thought. Your questions. We are going to try to keep hitting them as they come through, and I will try to be shorter-winded as we go in doing it. But this is what happens on an Overreaction Monday sometimes, and there's a lot to talk about. So, Twitch pitch, y'all are up. What do you guys have in mind with what you want to talk about, whether it is an overreaction about Atlanta United, MLS, anything on your mind? Everything's fair game. Here we go. Tesco. How do we get our best players on the field and still have good defensive balance? I think the 6 is critical to that, for sure. I think the possession part is critical to that as well, because you don't want to get exposed in bad situations. And I think it's continuing to build. I think that's what Stephen Glass wanted to do. Just looking at the way this team has played in the 2 games we've seen under him, I think they are trying to build from the back to the front, which is not a crazy idea. It's a smart one, but it gives that balance. My question is the lineup, how you're going to get there. Is how are you going to get your best 11 on the field but maintain that balance? And that's going to be hard. I think you're going to have to sacrifice some. That's where the Dom, Lennon, Escobar conundrum comes into play for me. Lennon helps you defensively even when he's the right winger. Dom won't help you as much defensively when he's the right winger. Do you maybe need to have Dom come off the bench longer to get that balance going longer? I'm kind of leaning that way. Katie says, MLS pod power rankings. Seems Southeast weaker and Northwest plus LA's the strongest. I would agree with the strongest one for sure, because you've got Portland, you've got Seattle, you do have LAFC, who is good, not as good without Vela, and not as good without Walker Zimmerman, but good. And the Galaxy are surprising us. The Southeast one, you had 2 expansion teams in there, so I think that was to be expected. Atlanta's down from where they've been without Joseph Martinez. Orlando is good, is really good. The Northeast has got good and bad. The Canadian one, Vancouver's in it. I think Katie's got it nailed. You could argue the Canadian one's weaker than the Southeast because Vancouver's that bad and Montreal's not all that much further ahead of them. They'd be quibbling. I'm okay with those rankings. I think the Northwest is definitely the best one.
Yeah, and we've seen it come out so far. I mean, when you have Portland and Seattle, we know what they do individually. Then you throw Cascadia into the mix, and with LAFC. So no, I'm right there with you.
Ragamuffin asks, how much salt did you use this weekend?
I believe that's a big old-fashioned 0.
None? Like you just didn't even think about any salt? Did you request no salt in the cooking of whatever you ate this weekend?
No.
You didn't go into the kitchen and say, no salt, please?
No. Actually, the reason that I didn't even do that is that the boss wasn't around. So it was a very singularly focused kitchen with me walking in and making sandwiches and things like that. So salt wasn't even a part of the discussion.
So what'd you eat since you were on your own? Because this is kind of frightening. What'd you eat without any assistance?
Let's see. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
No salt. Okay. I mean, no added salt to it. At least there is some.
Yeah,
salt
no, I didn't
in
take the
those
salt
things.
shaker and just go, I'm going to add to it.
No,
No,
you don't do that about anything. You don't do that at all when you cook.
no, I don't.
That's frightening.
And actually, while we were doing the MLS After Dark Bat Signal green room, that was the comfort food that was there. So while we're all having the
Nothing
discussion,
wrong with peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm talking about meals, John, because that's not a meal. Like, what was your breakfast? What was your lunch before you went to the stadium on Saturday?
I was going to say,
Or did you just wait to eat the boxed lunch at the stadium?
I'm trying to. No, I can try. See, that
Obviously, it wasn't very good. What was your dinner when you got home?
That was the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
So that was dinner. Okay, that's not good. What was yesterday's lunch?
God, I'm trying to think. Did I really eat lunch or did I just nosh? I think.
What was dinner then?
Dinner was Waffle House.
Okay, known for being somewhat salty.
But I didn't sit there and say, I need you to add salt to my grilled cheese sandwich. And
I know.
I had, and actually I'm going to have the leftovers for lunch. It was grilled cheese wheat on two.
That's what you always
triple
get.
order hash browns plain.
This is what you always get, and that's boring. Yeah. That's incredibly boring, and it's disappointing, and it's sad.
And then I also, as a part of my noshing, I had actual breakfast food with the blueberry muffins, which did not have any salt shaker salt.
No, you wouldn't want to do that.
And what was?
Were they gamey?
No, they were not.
That's good.
They have not reached gamey stage yet. Good. And also had Triscuits with turkey pepperoni on top. So that was probably lunch yesterday.
You eat like a college freshman.
Yeah.
It's like really weird.
What can I say? Consider your adjective and consider who we're talking about.
It's garbage.
It is not garbage.
That ain't true.
Your T-shirts are garbage. How about that?
Maybe so. Bernd Erzberger, Chicago Fire. Give me your assessment. Man, I didn't know I was going to be tested. Why? Woof. They whooped up on Cincinnati in the week.
And that's the thing. Is like, I don't know which one I'm going to get now.
No, you went woof.
I mean, the one that we had before, and then you whoop up on, and then you lose to NYC 3-1. It's like this is the box of chocolates for me.
They were on the road, and NYC's good. They just haven't played well under Ronnie Dyla, but they're a good quality team. They're a better team than Chicago.
And so this is the NYCFC that I'm expecting, but they finally show up. And so Chicago for me, I don't know.
I got nothing for any of that. Let's see. My thoughts on Chicago. I think they have potential. I do think they've made the right moves. In a normal year, they'd be further along, but this is far from a normal year. I mean, you look at the lineup against NYC. So they've lost their goalkeeper. Kenneth Gronholm's out for the rest of the year, so Connor Sparrow's in there right now. I think Calvo is meh. They're probably going to upgrade on that one. I do like Frankowski. I like Gaston Jimenez a lot. Alvaro Medran was a good get. Ignacio Aliceta was a very good signing. Baric, I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be worth the hype on him. Fabian Herber's still getting starts. I feel like that's a position they can upgrade. I like him. I just think Chicago's trying to move past that level of player. They've got to get better defensively. I still don't think they've solved those problems. I think they need to get better at goalkeeper, too. I don't think Kronholm is the answer long-term either. But this wasn't going to be an overnight process. Adding Jimenez, adding Medran, adding Aliceta, keeping Frankowski, jury's still out on Baric a little bit for me. I think they're moving in the right direction, and I think Vicky will get them going in the right direction. But it's going to take this summer window, it's going to take the off-season window, and it's going to take the first part of next year before we have a better sense of what Chicago is. I'm intrigued by the moves they're making. They're better. There's still a long way to go, and it's just going to take some time. Clayton Poss, Adams and Remedi can't start together again, right? Didn't appear to work good. They both also looked very flat-footed Saturday, and I thought were the reasons the first two goals went in. Adams, I think, is at fault on the Junior Urso goal off the corner. It's a little bit different off a corner than run a play, but it looked like Adams was the one who was tasked with Urso and got caught kind of ball watching. The second one, I don't put it as much on the midfield, just in terms of recovery. Sure, you could put a little bit on them, but there's bigger issues at play there. I think Adams struggled with his positioning defensively. I don't think that those two were on the same page as to who was sitting and who was going forward. And that just can't happen. So, Remedi-Adams didn't really work as a pairing. We've seen Remedi-Hindman work pretty well as a pairing. Lorenowitz-Remedi, I think, can work as a pairing. I thought it was better in the second half when Lorenowitz came on. For Adams, that helped that midfield a lot. Can Lorenowitz give you game after game after game? If you can pair him with Remedi, right now that can work in the midfield. I'm okay with that. Can you get that with Remedi and Hindman consistently? Potentially. Could you get that with Remedi and Hosetu with Barco or Pitti as the number 10? That's my big question, because that would be, I think, a big upgrade to creating more chances. It's a little riskier. I think Hosetu can give you the 8 role. But then where's Hindman fit? Because that's the conundrum is you've got it on the right side with 3 guys for 2 spots. You've got it in the middle with 3 guys, more than 3 guys for 2 spots. So Adams-Remedi, though, Clayton, I agree it didn't work. Tesco, I like the Lennon-Escobar combo because it offered much more balance. I totally agree. But you added Jurgen Damm for a reason. So where can you fit him to still make it all work? Can he move over to the left and cut inside and go to goal more? Potentially. So then if you're playing Lennon on the right, Damm on the left, then you're back to the conundrum in the middle. Do you play Pitti and Barco both there behind a forward? Then you're only playing one of the central midfielders we've talked about. It's all hard. There's a lot of lineup questions that are not easy. They're just not easy. People are cracking up about your jersey, John.
They are?
Who's the sponsor on it?
Saltire Energy.
Do you get why people are laughing, John?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that I look at it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
look
at, specifically, I look at them as an energy firm. I do not look at them as a condiment.
Well, nobody said they're a condiment. It's just funny.
The iron, is it funny or is it irony?
No, it's funny. It's absolutely funny. Your deal with salt is very funny.
I'm just not a fan of extra. I just, like I said, it's when your past reminds you of just really bad things and they lock you into an idea. What? People, I'm not knocking people for putting extra salt on their own food. It is a personal choice due to a physical ailment that happened half a life ago. It's just how it is.
No, I'm knocking you for not salting the pasta water. I'm absolutely knocking you for that.
I do use, when I think about it, I do use olive oil, though.
That's not the same thing. It's not even close.
No, but some folks sit there and they'll do olive oil and salt. But I remembered the olive oil keeps it separate. It keeps it,
that has nothing to do with the taste.
So, but no, I legitimately never thought to put salt in my water when I cook pasta. Never thought to do that.
Well, and then
Anyway, Abby says it'll be good to have Escobar back on Wednesday. Totally agree. I think he'll go back into a spot at right back, and you'll see. Having him back gives you the possibility if you want to go to 3 center backs. I think they're building around a 4-3-3 base, so I think he will be the right back, and you'll go from there. And it's just down to Lennon at right wing probably for a little while as Dom builds up his fitness, and then what happens when he's a 100% go and Lennon's 100% and Escobar's 100%? How does it fit? That's one of my questions. Okay, El Mataflo. Dom can play in a similar role to Lennon in terms of defensive work rate. He's nowhere near as good defensively as Lennon, but he will run for the team. Tuca burned it into his brain. And that's good. That's going to help. The not being as good as defensively will hurt you a little bit, but he'll help with the balance. It just won't be quite as strong defensively. But then where do you put Lennon? Because I don't want to lose him from this team. I think his presence is important in this team. Can he move over to the left? Possibly. Could he move to left back? He played it a little bit with Real Salt Lake, but then you're moving George Bello, and I think Bello needs to play to get to where we can see George Bello as a top left back in this league and in this country. He's got to play games. Do you move Lennon to left wing to support Bello? Not bad, but then you're back to the whole question about how you make the middle work, so it all keeps going. A lot of it's going to be down to form, and a lot of it's going to be down to how these players train and who Stephen Glass for now, and if somebody else comes in to replace him, who they trust. That's what it's going to come down to. But the competition for spots is good, but yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to know who the best 11 is with that competition for spots right now, and with all the injuries and stuff. People are throwing yellow cards because Escobar's name came up, and I understand that. It's all true. Bartimus Prime had tweeted this, and we haven't had a chance to get to it yet. The MLS's back tournament should be turned into a Super Cup charity competition going forward. Open Cup winner versus the MLS Cup champions. So it'd be like the Community Shield. Yeah, you could do that. You could just make it a single game Community Shield to start the season the week before the season starts. I'd be absolutely fine with that. I think that'd be very cool. So, yes, I fully support.
And you had linked to the Baseball America article where MLB is thinking about, if they take over minor league baseball, that they would do something like an Open Cup, which I thought was interesting.
I think somebody had a fever dream when they came up with that idea, because that doesn't make any sense in baseball.
I don't know how you'd do it logistically, but I thought it was a fun idea. I don't know how you'd pull it off, but nevertheless.
No, it's weird. Abby has a... Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, Ali Cupertino.
Yes.
With our discussion about salt or a lack thereof.
Yes.
She says that she would love to hear what Nick Alifi would have to say about not salting pasta water.
He was not happy. He was not happy about this. I made sure to get the House of Alifi's comment on it, and it was not a good one. Probably shouldn't repeat it. There was a lot of ranting in Italian.
Well, there's also soccer over there at 7.
Yeah, it's bad. Abby asks if you use salt on corn on the cob, and I'm going to assume no.
Pepper, butter. That's it.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I got nothing. Austin Harris says, if you haven't spoken about it already, would like to hear your opinion about Weston McKennie to Juve and what it means for the U.S. men's national team. I think it's good for him because, he's going to be, it's down to how Andrea Pirlo will be as a coach. There's been more positive comments about it than, I thought there might be, so that's a good sign. He's the kind of player you'd like to learn from if you're Weston McKennie, so that part's good. I want to see if he settles into a function in the midfield because he's played everywhere for Schalke, which is good and bad. He gets on the field a lot, but he's playing center back, he's playing right back, he's playing 6, he's playing the 8, he's playing out wide, he's a utility guy. What does he settle into? And I guess my biggest question is how much he sees the field.
Yes.
Because the training part is good. Being around Pirlo is going to be good. If he doesn't play a whole lot, it's not good. Now, Juve will be fighting on multiple fronts, so there will be plenty of games to play with Coppa Italia, with Champions League, with league matches. They are going in a younger direction, it seems like. So they identified him for a reason. Now they're getting him with very little risk because it's a loan with an option to buy. So how invested are they in playing him? That's another element to this. He's got to play. If he plays, and if he is an important part of a team like Juventus, it will absolutely help the U.S. men's national team. If he doesn't play, and he's not sharp when he comes into the national team, it's going to hurt the national team. Because I think right now he is the 8 for the national team. I think he's the central midfielder. I don't. And it's just been so long; it's hard to tell. But I don't know where Greg Berhalter is on what his ideal lineup is right now. I would like to see the Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie pairing in central midfield. I think it can work with a creative playmaker in front of them. That leaves Gianluca Busio out of that role. Busio is going to have to compete for time there. It leaves quite a few other guys out of that role. It leaves Michael Bradley out of that role as the 6. I think Adams and McKennie could be a central midfield duo that could work really well. but not if McKinney's not sharp. So that's my concern, Austin, is that he doesn't play a lot and he loses the sharpness. Everybody thinks you eat like a poor college kid.
Sure. Patrick Sullivan and Allie both say that a cooking show hosted by me would fall within the horror genre.
No, I've absolutely wanted to make this happen. I've wanted Nick Alifi's cooking down here to happen for a while, and then John has to make the dish after Nick makes it and shows you how. Because, I mean, he's showing you how to do it. You just have to hit pause and do what he's telling you to do. You're looking confusedly at the camera, but, like, how hard is that?
Well, then let me ask
He
you
says this. Fill the pot. Put salt in the water.
But what if I don't
Turn
want
it
to
on.
put salt in the water? What if I don't want to use salt? I am not a sodium chloride person. I'm not.
You sound like a kid who doesn't want to take his medicine. It's really disturbing. I got nothing.
I'm not a salt person. You can have mine. Nick can have mine.
It has nothing to do with having yours. That's not the problem here, John. Stop using that line. It doesn't make any sense. You don't add salt to sliced tomatoes, right?
Well, first you'd have to ask me if I like tomatoes.
You don't eat tomatoes, do you?
Not really, no.
Do you eat tomato sauce?
Tomato sauce occasionally on spaghetti noodles, yes.
Then what's your usual sauce for spaghetti noodles?
Sometimes it is like the college freshman were. Sometimes it's just butter.
What?
Yeah.
You're gross. I got nothing.
Nathan Pugh says he comes for the footy talk. He stays for the salty takes.
But they are what we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Sorry, Nathan.
When have you and Nick and Jarrett ever let me off the hook for a food take?
You should not be allowed off the hook for saying that oftentimes you make pasta with no salt.
Uh-huh.
You add a little bit of olive oil to the pot with the water.
Yeah.
And then you just put butter on top?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's not even a college freshman. That's frightening. That's insulting to Italy and to all of humankind. No salt on hash browns, right? That's another one.
I don't. You're asking. I don't add salt if that's what you're saying.
Okay.
I don't know
no,
how
I'm just
Waffle
checking.
House
I'm
makes
following
it,
it up.
Don't add it.
You don't make mac and cheese, do you?
Usually it's the prepackaged stuff that you nuke in the microwave. I don't do it myself.
So you're not making the pasta. So Ricky Ricardo salted the pot before he made the mac and cheese yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one doesn't apply.
Nope.
We will get into more Weston McKennie talk on soccer over there this evening. That is for sure.
Here
what?
we go. David at NotBabyFarkMCG on Twitter. He has sent a photo of Penny Regatta enriched macaroni product pasta.
Mm-hmm.
And the directions, cooking instructions, number 2, add salt to taste, optional. And he has circled the word optional.
Oh, it's optional. It's a bad option not to have it, but it's optional. It's optional. Colonel, the only reason I said Loeffler was not worse than Hansen was I don't think she has been nailed down with saying something like what Hansen said to Kellen Acosta. That's the only reason I'm saying that. So that's a different line for me. Speaking out against what her players are standing for is awful. Hansen took it to a whole nother degree with saying things to Kellen Acosta that are reprehensible to say in a public setting to a player's face.
And Colin Mond in the elevator.
Aaron Mond. And yeah, that's bad. That's really bad. What he said in front of Kellen Acosta is one of the worst things I've ever heard anybody in sports say to somebody's face.
No question.
Okay, so lots of still salt talk. Lots of other stuff. Sizzle A. Thank you for bringing it back to soccer. Thank you. If the 6 is our primary need, who is out that you'd like to have to be Nagbe's replacement? I miss Nagbe so much. I don't think it's a direct replacement. I think we have to stop thinking of the team as Okay, 2017 it had this, 2018 it had this. Okay, now we're replacing this player because you evolve the way you play. So what Nagbe did in 2018 and 2019 might not be how this team plays in 2021. So it's not a replacement for a player. It's about the function. I think with what you have right now, Heineman and Hosetu are two players who can replace the function of what Darlington Nagbe gave you. You need the 6, in my opinion, to be able to play as open as you want to play. You need a top 6, in my opinion. I don't think you're looking for an 8 because you have a lot of different options there. Nagbe was more of an 8, and I think you have that. You're going to have to get things out of the 6, and you're going to have to replace the central midfield that you had before with a new central midfield. The functions can change. Some of what Nagbe did can be divided up among other people. It's not this is the way this team played, and that's the way we're going to play forever. It doesn't work that way. You have to be able to evolve and be flexible, and even more flexible game to game, which is where I want to see this team get to, that they haven't been able to get there just yet. You look at what top teams in Europe do. Klopp does it. Guardiola does it. Mourinho does it. The top managers in the world will look at the opponent they're playing, look at their team, look at where the schedule is, look at what form is, and say, this is a game where I'm going to play 3 in the back. This is a game where I'm going to play 4 in the back. This is a game where I'm going to play 2 holding midfielders. This is a game where I'm going to play 1. Atlanta hasn't gotten to that point yet. It's still right now building the new base of how you play. You want to see that flexibility come later, and then you're not talking about Nagbe replacements and Gressel replacements. You're talking about what kind of player is this team missing, and I think it's a 6. So that's where I'm at. It's just not like a like-for-like replacement player for player. I think we need to stop the hashtag blank replacement. It's just it doesn't. It's not really how it works.
Yeah. Ali Cupertino says that at this point, the phrase Nagbe replacement in quotation marks should be a drinking game.
Yes. Any hashtag blank replacement is a drinking game at this point. Soccer for Good OG. John's an excellent play-by-play announcer, but his food takes are well below average. That is accurate. That is absolutely accurate.
Thank you for the kind words, OG. I appreciate
that is 100%
Chris Hutchison
accurate.
says that he heard that when Henry Ford was hiring a new executive, he would take him out to lunch. When the food came along, Ford would watch his perspective closely. If he salted his food before tasting it, Ford wouldn't hire him.
Well, that's different. You're lumping everything in together. I don't care if you add salt to your food. I don't add much salt to my food like that. The fact that it's not even salt that shocks me today. It's the fact that you think eating pasta with butter on top of it is appropriate. That's insulting. The fact that you don't salt the pasta as you are preparing it is just bad. It's just bad. It's just not good. No, it doesn't work. I don't care if you add salt to stuff that's already made. I don't really care. Adding it to like sliced tomatoes, I don't like to eat sliced tomatoes in general, but if I'm going to eat one, I'm going to add a little bit of salt to it. That's true.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I think that pepper for me is my salt replacement, I guess.
It's not, though. It's not at all. It's not at all a replacement. It's something completely different. That's like saying that orange juice is my replacement for milk. It's no.
So you don't put orange juice on your cereal?
No. You don't put pepper in as you're preparing your pasta in place of salt.
Nope.
I just don't get it. Salt is not a condiment, as Alex Basine says. I think that's what we're starting to figure out now.
Is that a spice?
It is a cooking spice, yes.
Cooking spice, okay.
Yes. It's not a condiment. It's not ketchup.
True.
People are freaking out. Freaking out. Bartimus Prime, olive oil in the pasta water is worse than not using salt. What does olive oil have to do with anything? Chris Ashley says. I don't know.
I thought the way that I was brought up was that when you put olive oil in the water as you're making
it has nothing to do with flavor.
It keeps the pasta from getting all clumpy and being in like.
Some people do it, some people don't. That's more of a personal preference, but it has nothing to do with taste.
No,
Zero.
It is literally to keep the noodles from being clumped together as one mass as you're trying to cook them.
Oh, man. See, Abby's trying to be on your side here. Doesn't add it to the water either, so she's with you there. or anything with cooking, but she does add it to certain foods, and corn on the cob is one. So she's trying to help you, but even she can't go all the way into this weird thing.
No, I would imagine that the number of folks that would go with me in this category of discussion is very, very few.
Man, there's a lot of conversation about this. Hutcho says, does anyone else like mayonnaise on their corn? What's your reaction to that, John?
I've never done that. I've never heard of that.
You need to have some, and I'm elote. I was looking for the word. Mexico, you would hate it, so no, you don't need to have it because your face would turn all weird and you'd be like making silly noises about it. It's really good.
I'd probably push the plate away and then give it to you, and then you could finish it.
Yeah, you would. I like elote a lot. It's very good. Let's see. So Byrne says about Weston McKennie, as the number 8 competes against Arthur Melo, who is the starting midfielder for Brazil. Just saying. And that's part of my hesitancy at liking this deal. I'm just not sure about it. Chris Ashley says, give me an Iron Chef SDH. I'd watch the hell out of that. I would not, because I'd be embarrassed about some people's cooking styles. The fact that you're actually
referring to my cooking choices as a style is interesting.
Well, it's just bad. I'm trying to come up with the right words.
It's choices. And if it's a bad thing, it's not a bad style. It's bad choices.
And Matt, no problem for asking this multiple times. It's turned all sideways. Sorry, I know I've asked this and the thread filled up, but I'm interested in Jason's thoughts on having Kubo, Lopez, and Joseph all in the lineup together. Kubo as a backup, is that an insult to him? Lopez plays as a forward, not just a striker. A lot of it's going to depend on the shape. I don't know what the terms of Kubo's deal is. I don't know how long he's under contract. It's not about an insult to him. If he's not the starting striker, he's not the starting striker. He didn't have a club before Atlanta signed him, so, I mean, it is what it is. Can you play Kubo and Joseph together? You can. You would have to play 4-4-2 or 3-5-2, or Joseph is going to play out wide in a 4-3-3. I don't know if you do that. Kubo can't play out wide in that. So if you're going to play them together, you got to play two. Lopez could play out wide probably a little bit easier than any of them. Lopez could play as a second striker as well, but I don't think Lopez starts next year. I don't think I don't know. Lopez has played 16 games, and I'm still just blown away by the idea that he walks into a starting spot with Kubo and with Joseph in those roles. I think Lopez is a long-term development. I think he's going to be an option off the bench. I think he can get some starts for you. I think he can play out wide at times as you rotate things around, as you mix the pieces up. I think he can play as a second striker sometimes when you play two strikers. I just don't think he starts straight away. I don't think it's easy to play Joseph and Kubo. I don't think it's easy to play all three of them without Joseph and Lopez going out wide and Kubo being the number 9. And I don't know if that gets the best out of your team, because then you're still talking about Jurgen Damm. You don't know where Barco is at that point. You don't know where Pitti is at that point. You don't know where Lennon is at that point. I don't know. You had to go get somebody. You go get Kubo Torres. He's available on a free. He might not be the starter next year. He might come off the bench. I think Lopez is a longer-term project. And I don't think you're shoehorning all three in together next year. I don't. I think you're going to have to. Joseph plays as much as Joseph plays, and everybody else plays either with him at times or more likely for him at other times. You are looking at a 21 that could be crowded in the schedule for CONCACAF, for Open Cup, but also for Joseph with Venezuela, with World Cup qualifiers. So you need depth, and that's good, but I don't know if you can shoehorn all three together. And I don't think you're going to sacrifice anything from Joseph to do that. People are still talking about salt. Lots and lots of salt and butter and all kinds of things. Do you get the unsalted butter, or do you even know that butter can come salted or unsalted?
I don't know that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I leave that to the boss when it comes to purchasing butter. She's not a big salt person either, so I would imagine it's the latter.
Well, I get unsalted butter for cooking because I'm going to add some salt. when I'm cooking. Just saying. Let's see. Man, there's a lot of talk about salt. I add salt when I'm cooking rice or pasta. It's true. Alton Brown needs to come in and smack you around, I think. Or Gordon Ramsay to come in and yell at you. Either one's fine.
Well, I mean, hell, I would stipulate that in his mind, I'm definitely an idiot sandwich, so that's not a surprise.
It's possible. Hutcho's Zone, with a little bit of science for us today, adding salt to water results in a phenomenon known as boiling point elevation.
Okay. So it brings it higher than 212. I did not know that.
Phoenix ATL would totally watch Gordon Ramsay yell at you. So would Ricky Ricardo.
Yeah, but then I would probably yell back, and it wouldn't be very pretty.
Alex Bassine standing up for you that I bully you enough, so you don't deserve more.
Yes, you're a bully.
Thanks, Alex. Burned. One of the negatives of Atlanta United struggling for wins/points is that young players don't get runouts. Absolutely. Campbell, Wolf, Wyke, etc. Plus, they're missing the USL minutes with the protocol issues. 100%. When you're getting a bunch of results, like Orlando, for example, you're in a good spot. You can rotate that squad around. You can play Perea as a starter in that game. You can mix that midfield up a little bit, and you can do that. And then you get wins, and it helps. Benji Michel, he gets a start there. It's good. When you're not getting wins, when you're not playing with confidence, you got to keep going to the lineup that can get you a win. You can't say, well, I'd like to give Tyler Wolff a game here, and we're going to give him a start. You can't trust that, and that is a problem. Campbell and Wyke this year, especially Campbell, you would have liked to have gotten him more games somewhere this year. This year has been incredibly difficult for that. So you have to keep him engaged. You have to find a way to do that. There's not a whole lot of USL games left. It's been a big disappointment in that. And I don't know, outside of getting better results or figuring out better ways to deal with the protocol or not having some of the injuries you've had, how it could have been different this year. But it can't be a long-term issue, because we saw it in Dallas for a while where they would sign guys, they'd come through, and then you wouldn't see them develop. They'd get the homegrown deal, and then they didn't play enough to get to the next level. You don't want that to be the case. You've got to give playing time to continue to progress, and you've got to find a way to make that happen. Stizzle will continue to say Nagbe replacement until the midfield is no longer garbage. That's harsh, Stizzle. I don't think it's garbage. I thought the middle third was maybe the best part of the team on Saturday in a match that the final third and the defensive third wasn't very good. I don't think the midfield's garbage, and you're not the only one who thinks that. I'm not bullying you. I'm not saying that you're wrong, because other people have said that too. I'm not seeing it as the major issue. I'm not. The 6 is the major issue, but that's not tied to what Nagbe was. For me, the 6 was something you needed no matter what you did in the offseason to elevate this team, to be able to free it up. And I'll give you the Philadelphia example as what a good number 6 defensively can do for you, because they play a diamond. They play 4, so it's a 6 behind 2 8s and a number 10. Brendan Aronson as the 10. Alejandro Bedoya and Jamiro Montero as the 8s. Last year it was Harris Medunjanin as the 6. Medunjanin has no range defensively. So Bedoya, Montero, sometimes both, had to stay deeper to cover for him and help him defensively. That took them away from joining the attack. Now, with Jose Martinez, who can cover a ton of ground and is much better defensively, Montero can step higher, Bedoya can step higher, and you're doing more going forward. If you have a number 6 who doesn't need help defensively, or, in I think Atlanta's case, you have guys playing the 6 who want to go forward more, if you have a 6 who can stay there and be defensive and be a distributor, but also just be a solid rock defensively, you can commit more numbers forward. And I think everything works. And I think that was the case coming into the season. That was the case at the very end of last season. It's still the case. So let's see if that becomes a priority. I'm assuming from the Jonathan Gonzalez conversation that has been reported in Mexico, you're not getting any of that information out of Atlanta, but you would assume that based off what we heard, it was at least a real conversation that they were looking at it. Wonder what else they looked at in that role, and I wonder if that's going to be a priority for next season. I think it needs to be.
You mentioned Philadelphia Union real quick. Next match for the Twos is midweek against Philadelphia Union 2 up at Subaru Park. And then the next 3 after that will be at home at 5th, 3rd on the 12th, the 16th, and the 23rd. It's a largely improved Union 2 side this year.
Yes. Those two sides, it's all about playing young guys. And the better the crop of young players that come through, the better those teams get. I think Atlanta United 2 is an example. The quality is better. The results then are the next step past that. Ragamuffin asks, is Salt Lake City your least favorite city?
I've never been. I've been over it. I've never been in it.
I'm just leaving it alone. Lot to talk about elote, and yeah, I want some elote now.
See, then you got yourself all fired up.
Katie Weaver wants Iron Chef, Nick versus Mike Conti. She wants me and you as the judge. You can't be the judge. You can't judge proper food. You would have to be the host or providing commentary at random intervals.
I'd give commentary. Let you and Jarrett and Kelly and Jess be the jury, and I'll host it.
You can't judge any of that.
Nope.
We would have you taste it for comedy's sake and see what you have to say about it, because that'd be entertaining. But you're not a judge.
No,
that can't work.
It would be a skewed behavior, so that's not a good idea.
Couple more before we go. We're in stoppage time now. Again, we'll be back with Soccer Over There at 7:00. There will be more, I think, Atlanta United conversation later too. So it's normally what happens on these, but we'll talk a lot about Nick Alifi being excited about Milan stealing players from Inter. He's rather proud of this.
Yes.
We'll talk about Messi-gate and all of that. The Messi files. We'll talk about all that. We'll talk about South America. We'll talk about what's going on in England. Next week, we'll have a specific Premier League preview, as they will be days away from the start of the Premier League. But this week, we'll get you caught up on all the silly season stuff and all the madness. That'll be tonight, 7:00. Your usual places, the app, on soccerdownhere.net, and on twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. Okay, final questions as we run through them. Abby, do you think we already have a 6, one who can be fully trained to be that person? I don't. I think you need to go get a true 6. I think Remedi's natural tendency is always going to be to go, and you don't want to take that away from him. So he's going to leave that spot at times. I think Jeff is probably the closest one to it, but I don't know if he's 90 minutes game in, game out at this stage of his career. I think you need to go get a 6. I don't like the idea of Heinemann or Josetu learning on the job in that role. I think they can help you in other ways. And to be where you want to be next year, which is a title contender on all fronts, including CONCACAF, you need to go get a 6. Now, you can go get a young 6 that fits in the U22 initiative if that rule comes into place, which we're all expecting. But somebody with some experience who can give you the defensive side of that role without being poor on the ball. And I think you're going to have to go shopping for it. Kefsi's confused. Where is Lopez right now? I'm confused. It was said at the end of last week that he was training with the first team. He's not on the roster for the first team. I don't know how you can get him on the roster for the first team without rule changes. And I don't know. I don't know. He hasn't been registered with the 2s yet either, is my understanding. So, he hasn't been locked into the 2s at this point. So maybe you have to clear a roster spot up, I think, because I don't think you can get him into a supplemental spot on loan, but maybe you can. If you can, then you can add him to the roster. If you have to have an international slot. So you still have to do something to open up room for him, no matter what. And that hasn't been done yet. So he can't be on the first team roster without an international slot at a minimum. And I wonder if you can get him there in a supplemental spot, but maybe that's doable. So he's there, he's training, but he's not on the roster yet to play. Lots of stuff. Ragamuffin, would you consider yourself a salt of the earth kind of guy?
Actually, I prefer to buy mine in the store when it is bought.
Okay. Phoenix ATL, you have a boss and you still eat like a college kid?
Well, when the boss isn't home.
That's accurate.
And she knows this, too.
Oh no, I'm sure she does.
And her reaction is pretty similar to yours, by the way.
I'm sure. I mean, it's the typical one. Tasco, how would you get Pitti and Barco starting together with this roster? One left and one right. One is a 10 and one on the left, the latter. I think that's the way to go, and it's going to be fluid. I mean, they'll interchange throughout the game. You look at Miami with Pizarro, with Pellegrini, with Morgan, they interchange. I would do the same, maybe less interchange with Dom on the right side, because I think those are your three in a 4-3-3, and if you want to call it a 4-2-3-1 for this sake of conversation, let's do it. It would be, I would go Pitti on the left, Barco in the middle, and Dom on the right. You could go Pitti in the middle and Barco on the left. Doesn't matter. They're going to float, and they're going to find their space. With Kubo up top, I think is where you want this team to get to, and Hosetu with a defensive midfielder. That's where I'm at with it right now, and that means Heinemann is out of it at the moment. That would mean Lennon's out of it at the moment, and I don't know if either one of those guys are necessarily out of the 11 right now. We're not seeing training every day, so these are the challenges. This is the conversation about what this lineup looks like, but one in the middle, one on the left is the way I think you make it work. We will talk about Arthur and McKinney and everything with Juventus tonight on Soccer Over There. Cassie wanted to give Heinemann as a shout as a player we missed on Saturday. I agree. Mm-hmm. Atlanta Phoenix says Heinemann is a key cog for our team. So wait a minute. So now I got to start getting this right, because there's an Atlanta Phoenix and there is a Phoenix ATL. They're spelled differently. One is like Phoenix City, Alabama. And one is Atlanta Phoenix. So, man, it'll work. It'll work. I just got to be very specific. One is Atlanta Phoenix, one is Phoenix ATL. So that'll work.
Okay.
Man, we have similar names in the Twitch pitch now. It's getting chaotic. Atlanta Phoenix was first. Atlanta Phoenix 17 was first. That is accurate.
Yes.
But yes. Phoenix ATL, welcome.
Yes, welcome. Interesting day in TV sports.
Okay.
Today, for the first time, this is from Michael Mulvihill, an EVP for research at Fox Sports. Today, for the first time, TV viewing outside of the home will be fully integrated into Nielsen's national TV ratings.
That's interesting. I mean, it's a little different right now. Out of the home, is that including streaming too? Or is this just like at bars and restaurants and such?
It's and mobile devices.
So some streaming. Interesting. Now I'll be curious to see how that works. I'll be curious to see what effects it has on some things' ratings. Yeah. Like soccer, I think, is one that will be affected by that in a big, big way and could really change how some of this stuff goes.
Yep. Questions from Mulvihill. What time periods will suddenly become more attractive for sports events? Mm-hmm. Which sports will benefit the most? We know from preliminary data that the outside-of-home sports audience is younger, more female, and more diverse than the in-home audience. Will that change how sports are valued? We're already seeing huge impact to local Major League Baseball viewing among young people. So that's interesting stuff that now out-of-home is a part of your ratings.
I'll be curious to see what it does to the overall ratings. I really will, and if that starts affecting the advertising side. I think it's a good thing for soccer in general and for MLS specifically. I think it'll be a big help for that, because I think a lot of soccer folks watch in non-traditional ways. So could be a big help. I think we've covered everything. There was a lot of salt and butter and pepper and takes and stuff. I get it. I'm still baffled by it as well. Maybe one day we'll figure it all out. Probably not. John won't figure it out because he's not going to change. Just give it up. It's not happening. He's still going to cook like a kid. The butter on pasta thing is what is just How could you do this?
Easily you go.
It's gross.
It is not gross.
With no salt, it is.
Butter on pasta noodles, huh? That's gross.
Yes. When you could buy, if you don't want to make your own pasta sauce, you could buy the jar of sauce. I mean, when I was a broke college kid, I didn't go to that route, and I really didn't know a whole lot of cooking techniques at that time. I would at least salt the water with the pasta and buy a jar of sauce and heat up the sauce and toss the sauce and the noodles. And this is when I didn't know anything.
Yeah. For me, it literally has always been lazy cooking, and that's probably
beyond lazy.
Yeah, I just put the pasta in the water, or and one of the best gifts I ever got was from the boss a couple of years ago. It's a pasta boat. Have you seen the pasta boat that you can
pasta boat?
Yeah, it's about a foot long, and it has a removable top, and you fill it up to the level with the water. You put the pasta in it, and then you put it in the microwave, and it cooks it there as opposed to cooking it on open flame.
Somehow you keep making this more insulting, and I don't know how you do it, and I have no response, and I'm just going to walk away.
I will buy you a pasta boat, and you can see what I'm talking about.
No, I don't want a pasta boat. I'm done for today. I got nothing else. I'm blown away by all of this, and this is upsetting. So I'm going to try to recover before soccer over there tonight. Nick Alifi might sit out and protest. I don't know. He might just refuse to be on the show anymore.
Well, actually, what we might have is an opening rant in Italian about it. Let him have the opening statement.
Might be in multiple languages. That ship isn't sailing anytime soon. That's true, Tesco. And yes, I'm right there with you, Joe, on the pasta boat. That'll do it for today. Thanks for everybody joining the conversation this morning. Some of you probably are reluctant to come back. Hopefully you do. We won't always talk about bad food options. We will talk tomorrow a good bit about looking ahead because Stephen Glass will be speaking to the media this afternoon. So make sure you're following all of your usual suspects there. Doug Robertson, Joe Patrick, Felipe Cardenas. I'm sure they will all be tweeting during it. Mike Conti will be tweeting during it as well. We'll see what Glassy has to say after the loss as they prepare for Miami, who's coming off of a loss as well with 1 day less rest. We'll start to look at that. We'll look around your fantasy picks as well in MLS, and we'll get you ready for the upcoming midweek matches. But tonight, Soccer Over There, we will get deep into the over there portion, the Messi story, the Milan rebuild, which is looking really interesting. How teams are coming together in England. We'll talk about Leeds United and what they've been up to. We'll talk about Wigan and how they've raised a whole lot of money. And they might possibly be okay, at least to start the season. We'll see how long that lasts. But we'll get you caught up on all that this evening. So thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back at 7. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.